Okay, so for problem 4, we want to find the equation of this parabola in vertex form. The vertex form of an equation is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k, where hk is the vertex and a is the stretch or the vertical stretch or shrink of the graph. Okay, so this graph here has a vertex at the point 1, -6. So that tells me, according to this, that h equals 1 and k equals -6. So I can plug that into here to get y equals a times x minus 1 squared minus 6. Now I just need to figure out a. Well, a is the vertical stretch or shrink, and so when I move over 1 from this graph, from the vertex, I have gone up 3, which is 3 times as high as you normally do if you don't have a vertical stretch or shrink. So there's a vertical stretch of 3, which means that a equals 3. So we end up with y equals 3 times x minus 1 squared minus 6. Now for problem 5, what is the equation of this parabola in intercept form? Well, intercept form of a parabola is given by the equation y equals a times x minus p times x minus q, where p0 and q0 are roots, and a is once again the vertical stretch or shrink. Now this parabola has roots at the point 0, 0 and the point -2, 0. This tells me that p equals 0 and q equals 0 because that's what our roots are associated with. This gives me the equation y equals a times x minus 0 times x minus 2, x plus 2, because it's x minus -2. Now I need to figure out what a is. I can just tell there's a vertical stretch or shrink of 1, but I want to do that algebraically because usually when you look at the intercept form, you will need to do it algebraically. So we have a point 1, 3 here that's on our graph, and I'm going to use that point to plug it into our equation. So this says that when x equals 1, y equals 3. So 3 equals a times 1 minus 0 times 1 plus 2. This will be 3 equals a times 3, which should tell me that a equals 1. Thus, I have the final answer, y equals x times x plus 2, which is basically a simplified version of x plus 0 times x plus 2. Alright, now for 6a, we want to find the equation of this parabola in standard form. Let's just take a moment to remember standard form. The standard form of a parabola is y equals a times x squared plus bx plus c. And the way I'm going to find that is by finding the equation of this parabola in another form first, either intercept or vertex, and then converting it into standard form. In this parabola here, it does not have a vertex that's easy to see, but it does have two clearly identifiable roots, which are at the points 4, 0 and -1, 0. This means when I use intercept form, which is y equals a times x minus p times x minus q, where p and q are associated with the roots, I know that y will just be a times x minus -1, which will be x plus 1, times x minus 4. Now I just need to figure out a. Well, let's take this point here, which is 0, -4, and plug that into our equation. We're going to get -4 is equal to a times 0 plus 1 times 0 minus 4. And it's very important that I chose a point that I had not already used. To get -4 is equal to a times -4, which means that a equals 1. So my intercept form is y equals x plus 1 times x minus 4. Now to get it into standard form, which is of course our goal, we need to distribute. So y equals x times x is x squared, x times -4 is minus 4x, plus x, and then minus 4. So I get y equals x squared minus 3x minus 4, and that is my final answer. Now for 6b, we want to find the equation of this parabola in standard form. Now we have to figure out whether it'd be easier to write this equation first in vertex form or intercept form and then convert it. Well, this parabola has no roots, so we could not write it in intercept form at all, but luckily it has a clearly identifiable vertex at the point 1, 2. Now this means we're going to use vertex form, which is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k, where hk is the vertex. So our vertex is 1, 2, so we have y equals a times x minus 1 squared plus 2. Now we need to figure out a. Well, a is the vertical stretch or shrink, so when I move over 1 from the vertex, I've gone up 1, which is the change associated with a parabola that has no stretch or shrink. So there's no stretch or shrink. So a equals 1. So I have y equals x minus 1 squared plus 2. Now all that's left is for us to distribute, so I'm just going to write it up here again, x minus 1 squared plus 2. So my first step would be to rewrite x minus 1 squared as 2x minus 1's multiplied together. Then I'm going to distribute to get y equals x times x is x squared minus x plus 1 plus 2. And then I'm going to combine like terms to get y equals x squared minus 2x plus 3. And that is my equation in standard form.